spitting feathers at the end of my tether. You're gonna take me out of here on a stretcher, spitting feathers.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Sullen Hearts HQ, also known as The Loft. Yesterday was a really big day for us. We finally got to release Logotherapy, the debut album, to all streaming platforms. So if you've had a chance to have a look at it, have a listen on your favourite streaming platform, thank you so much. We're not in it to make the money. The way that streaming platforms work is we're very unlikely to make any money, be like 0.0001 pence. But it's not about that. It was always about just wanting to get these songs out there, get the album out there. And if we get a chance to do some live shows on the back of this, that would be make it even more better, even more special. But I did want to do a little inkling. I wanted to do the first track called Spittin Feathers and give you an idea of how that was created and what the process was to get the track off the ground. Was that inspired by any particular day, month, year of just someone just literally grinding you to? Because I mean, I thought the lyrics were fantastic because I read them through first, and I read them and I just thought, oh man, we've all been there. You know, it's literally you have those where everything has just gone wrong, and you think that's it, I'm out. I'm out. I'm literally, I don't know what it is. I'm just, today is gone. I'm out. And
I'm done.
Yeah, I am done in a big way, and someone is going to feel the wrath of this. So I just thought the lyric was amazing. But was that kind of more a kind of a personal experience, or is that just kind of a rough idea of kind of, was that kind of born from anything in terms of personally, or?
Yeah, I think with the exception of 2 or 3 songs like Parkhurst Grange being one of them, where I had to kind of draw outside myself. I think most of the lyrics that I wrote, and obviously you wrote a few, which I'm sure you'll talk about, were drawn on my experience, or at least some seed of it. Because I think it is easier if you write from your own personal experience, or at least draw on it, because you have an authenticity, you have things that you can write. That some of the songs when I've tried to write where I've just made it up from scratch, inevitably the ones that aren't very good, or I just look at it and think, what on earth was I writing there? Because I'm just making it up. And actually, I find anyway, if you draw on your own experience, then it's much better. So, and as you know, I do look like a good title. So often I'll just think of a phrase or something, and that'll be my title, and it'll just sit in my notes. So I write it on my phone. Most of the time, and I'll just sit there on notes and I'll come up with a title, and then at some point I'll go back to it and go, right, what could the lyrics be for this? So I can't remember exactly with Spittin Feathers. I assume I probably thought the title first because it's quite a good title. I think, Spittin Feathers. But then what is this song about? Notoriously in the past, I've had quite a short patience and short fuse.
I know.
Steve is shocked and appalled at this revelation. I have mellowed quite a bit, I might say.
Absolutely mellowed.
But yeah, it is still there. And, I do find myself, like most of us, getting just off, if I can say that, with life sometimes. Because just people or situations, it's just that frustration. You're just trying to live your life. You're just trying to do one thing. Something comes along inevitably and just wrecks it for you. So I thought, it was kind of, to be honest, a bit of a lampoon of myself. In the fact that I had a short temper. So I thought if I draw on that, particularly past experiences or whatever, or little things that have annoyed me. So it's to do with that. Let me just find the lyrics.
Absolutely.
So like waiting in a queue. I mean, these are all sort of things we've all experienced, someone's pushing through. That's always the way, isn't it? What else? Driving in the red happened a little while ago, when you're running out of petrol and inevitably you hit a load of traffic and you're just like, why now?
Yeah, why me?
Why couldn't this be yesterday or tomorrow when I filled up, whatever it might be. So, those little things. But I suppose for the last chorus, that was a bit of projection, I suppose, and a bit of tongue-in-cheek humour, but now I'm stuck inside, the idea that he's been sent to prison because he's finally lost it and all of that.
What would happen if you
I suppose it's like, if you don't, if you don't learn to control your temper,
Yeah, no, literally, is that
not let the little things rile you up, then actually, it doesn't normally end up, in the best way. So
I love
yeah,
that.
so that was the idea of that. But like you say, I like the fact that it's punchy, it's straight in there,
Yeah.
it's kind of angry, and I think chronologically,
Thank you for
being
that.
at the start of the album works quite well, because if you go with the idea of it being this guy in a care home revisiting his memories, then maybe that's him when he was younger and a young angry man and things like that. So it kind of fit quite well, but also just a good punchy start to the album, I think.
It was great. I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic. It's such a good lyric, and I loved it, and it's really, really well thought out by Dan. And my natural thought process was to try and maybe do something like an AC/DC song, or something that's kind of really aggressive and angry. But the problem with me doing that is that it would be a pastiche, and it would sound like a pastiche, and it wouldn't sound authentic, it wouldn't sound great, because that's not my forte. I can't really do really good classic rock angry songs, not really, not without them sounding not particularly great. One thing I did do after I'd read the lyrics for a few days is I had a look at my acoustic guitar. This is the only acoustic guitar I've got, so I write all the songs on here. I bought it in 2003. It's dented. It's not particularly a brand name. It's not got any pickups. It's got beaten and battered and bruised over the years, and it's got scratches and marks and cuts and you name it. But I love this guitar, and I will not get rid of it. Even if it's snapped, I think I'd find somebody to try and fix it for me. The first thing that I kind of found when I was messing around or doodling was just this kind of little, on the E chord, you can do like a little flick on or a hammer off, and it's kind of like this. And I think probably Love Changes Everything is probably the first thing that most people think to, because you kind of get that. But I really like that, and I thought that would work really well in a chorus if you started something off with that, so you kind of got that. And then once you've got that, you can kind of then work out what the rest of it is, and that ended up becoming the start of the verse, really. So kind of it went, and then kind of the song kind of progressed from there. And I kind of got a rhythm from there, kind of thing. So the first ever demo that I sent to the band was me doing that. Let me just see if I can find it. This is the original demo that I sent to the band.
I'm waiting in the queue. Somebody's pushing through, trying to be polite. Out of luck, trying to be polite, but the spirit's shy. I'm getting wild, going wild. I'm driving in the red, there's traffic up ahead. Scream and shout, breaking out. Gonna go. I ain't no. Finally lost it with all this. Spittin feathers, reach the end of my tether. They're gonna take me out of here on a stretcher. Spittin feathers, reach the end of my tether. They're gonna take me out of here on a stretcher. Spittin feathers, reach the end of my tether. They're gonna take me out of here on a stretcher.
So a couple of things there. Firstly, sorry for the voice. I always do a high voice or I started doing a high voice because I find it easier to find a melody if I sing really high rather than the low voice. And I can't control the high voice, but what it does do is it lets me find a melody in something. Also, I've just noticed there that demo was in it wasn't in half a step down. That demo was actually just in standard chords by the sounds of it. So at some point between doing the demo and actually going to do the laying down the track, I decided to drop it down half a step. But the original there is actually just standard key of E by the sounds of things. But as you can tell by doodling, I had most of the song there. I had the verse, I had the chorus down as well. The big thing for that song is the end of the chorus. So it goes like Spittin Feathers at the end of my tether, gonna take me out. And then this bit, I didn't want it to resolve. So because when you're angry and you're really, really angry, you don't really make that much coherent sense. So oftentimes you get so frustrated that you end a conversation or you end an argument and you try and do like this epic walk away, or you want to say this, like nail this, you're trying to, maybe insult somebody, and you want to give them the best insult in the world, but oftentimes it doesn't work that way and you sound like a fool. So I kind of wanted it to end on this, just it doesn't resolve, it doesn't properly end, and it kind of still feels angry at the end of it. So you kind of got this like Spittin Feathers at the end of the tether, gonna take me out of here on a stretcher. And it's a B7 chord, so it just sounds quite haunting, and it doesn't really kind of end the song properly, but it's nice to sing over, and it kind of just gave it that extra edge that it's not a standard rock song that's just E, D, B, that kind of thing. It kind of just gives it that edge at the end that goes through. There is a couple of differentiations. I think there's a bridge. It's quite an easy, simple B, A, E, I think it is. So it goes, now I'm stuck here inside, something more how I try. And then there's some minor chords, so C sharp minor, swallow it down, turn it around, which just gives it a little bit of extra something. But on the whole, then obviously it kind of resolves back to the main chorus again. And I think it's a good hook. The chorus was one of the first things I kind of, after I'd realised that this could go on the verse, and then I realised I could kind of work something from there. The chorus was the main bit. Once I'd got the Spittin Feathers bit and I realised that was quite a good hook, it kind of worked out from there. And I think overall it kind of stuck with the tone. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want it to veer off from the lyrics that Dan had put, because they were really fantastic lyrics, and I didn't want to veer off, and I still wanted to keep the tone. I still wanted it to be quite an angry song. I still wanted it to be quite a bitter song, because that essentially is the meaning. So I didn't want to go off and do something completely different that would take away from that. The song, even though it's got melody, even though it's got quite a nice melody on the chorus, and it is quite, if you didn't have the kind of distortion of the guitar, it would just be kind of quite a fluffy little song. But together, when you put the guitar over it and the distortion, and you get kind of a bit more rocky when you're singing it, a bit more gruff when you're singing it, it does become a little bit more of a rocky song. And I did originally want to just do power chords like, but then when you go to record it just doesn't, it loses some of that tonality. So I still wanted the open chords to ring out. I still wanted that, and especially this one, I still wanted that because it sounds quite nice, and you would lose that if you did all power. I didn't want that. I wanted it to still have that melody, even though it's an angry song. Just keep that bit of it and go through. And then usually it's a case of just tweaking it after that. So I sent over the first demo, and Dan had a look and said, yeah, I like this. And then I sent another demo across after that. Just see if I can grab it. So once I'd got that first demo, and the demos are just recorded on iPhone voice memos, they're not high quality or anything like that, they're just literally me playing this, and that's it. Over, just literally record it on my phone, send it over to Dan or whoever. At the time I think we was trying to release songs as a 4-piece. So the songs were kind of sent to the whole band, and then later on we realised that me and Dan had the spare time to finish it off. So we're the ones that ran with it. So I sent off the first demo, and everyone said, yeah, that sounds okay, we can work with that. And then I sent one more demo off, the second demo, and the second demo I've just noticed I've realised that it's probably best to go down to half a step. So it is a bit lower. It's kind of this now. And then the melody had changed again slightly, as in the vocal melody. I was still tweaking it. I was still trying to go through and see how it would sound in my head. And that spacing of the spacing of kind of where it would come in on the verse was still being worked on. So this is the second demo that I sent across, and this is probably closer to how the original ended up sounding. Let me just see if I can pop it on.
Waiting in the queue, somebody's pushing through. I'm building up and out looking, trying to be polite. They're still spewing shine, getting wild, growing wild, and I'm driving in the red, traffic up ahead. Scream and shout, I'm breaking out. Spittin feathers, reach the end of my tether, and find me alone. For me, on this feather, spittin feathers, reach the end of my tether. Going on for this.
So listening to that demo, that sounded like it was more me showing the band how it would sound if it was down a step, because obviously I went wrong in it and it wasn't finished. And the melody of the verses was still, I didn't go down that route. I didn't like the way it was kind of structured, and it sounded more like the first one when it was recorded. But as you could see, the song was pretty much ready to go. Not really a lot changed when we started laying down the track. It remained as you heard there. Really, nothing really changed. We didn't add anything. The bridge was probably the last thing that we added in. Just to kind of fill it out a little bit towards the end, because the danger is a lot of songs, it gets very samey, that you get into a structure, you kind of go, intro, verse, chorus, maybe you have one more verse in the last chorus, then you're out, then you're done, and you kind of want to spice it up a little bit. So kind of verse, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, and then final chorus, maybe a little solo at the end. And do it that way. So try to add a little bit of variety in there. There is a few songs that do just very much just do verse, chorus, gone. And not that there's nothing wrong with that at all. Sometimes just some songs dictate that that's the best way to go. You don't want to deliberately make a 3-minute song that sounds amazing 4 or 5 minutes just because you wanted to add in a bridge or a refrain or a solo. If the song works 3 minutes, get in, get out, because you get the message across, then that works. For this one, it was nice to have a bridge just to give it that little kind of chance to breathe at the end, something different, and it just kind of ends it very well. Then you can just kind of go back into that last chorus, a little solo, boom, and you're done. A very easy song. Chord wise, the B7 is the only chord that's different. Everything else is kind of your major chords, a couple of minors, nothing major. I use C sharp minor, I think it is. I use it all the time. I love that chord. I love anything to do with especially kind of the pattern of I try and stop myself from using it, but I love kind of the I love those chords. I love these chords here. Just make me feel so good inside. And often when I hear songs on the radio, new songs, and I'll find a song that I really like, and I love it, and I'm trying to work out why I love it so much. And then I guarantee that, you know, it'll be because it's using like these chords, which I just love. So yeah, absolutely. So that was the basic story of Spittin Feathers. We'll go more into detail with when we get down on the video to go through the rest of the songs and maybe talk about how we lay the tracks down. We haven't got a drummer, for example. So the first port of call is usually to find a drum beat, to find a drum rhythm that we're happy with, because then we can then lay the foundations from there. So we'll talk about that more when we get down on, but this is a good example of Spittin Feathers. Hopefully we'll do some more of these, and yeah, we'll catch you up next time. Thank you very much.